Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome into Coffee Break. Richie Carney, Rachel V. Hill. Lots to talk about. This Saturday, you guys, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to get into all the details there. Plus, an ESPN analyst is putting Shedeur Sanders pretty dang high on the draft boards. And also, we need to talk about international players coming to the NFL. Lots to get into. Richie, how are you this morning?
Doing well, Rachel. How are you?
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Buckled in.
Buckled in. We're ready to go. Let's start with what's going to be happening on Saturday, because all of a sudden this thing has just completely exploded, where we're like, oh yeah, College Game Day is coming. Like, that's going to be awesome. Big noon kickoff's coming. Now Pat McAfee is coming. That's another huge one. And Sports Center is going to be here. I feel like, and it's only Wednesday. Like, who knows who else is going to be coming out here?
There's a lot of time for things to move and shake. And I heard this morning. Joel Klatt was on the morning show, obviously, the big noon kickoff announcer with Gus Johnson. And he was saying that actively right now, Fox is fighting to try to be able to joint broadcast that game so that Gus and John can come back.
Yeah.
It has never happened that the big noon kickoff pregame crew and the broadcasting crew, Gus and Joel, have been sent to different locations. But unless Fox can somehow joint broadcast that game, it's going to be the first time ever. That's how big of a deal what's going on in Boulder this weekend is.
Question. Is it all because of Coach Prime, or is it because of what they're actually putting on the football field?
Both. It's because of what they're putting on the football field is because of Coach Prime. So it is because of Coach Prime, the personality, because he is the most magnetic personality in college football and arguably one of, if not the most magnetic in all of sports. Yep. So yes, that is why he's the attraction. He's the spectacle. But that aspect of him has contributed to what they're putting out there on the field, because he's the one that pulled all those recruits and overhauled this roster in a single year and brought his son, who's one of the most electric players in college football right now. So the answer is yes, but they're kind of intertwined.
Not that I think any of the players in that locker room care, because they're being put on the biggest stage, which is incredibly great. But I do think it has more to do with Coach Prime and less about the product on the field. And I think that's because so many people know who Coach Prime is, who know who Deion Sanders is, and are able to connect with that. Like, it kind of throws you back to the days when he was playing in the NFL, right? So like, even people who may not watch a ton of football now or college football, there's still that connection that they have to Coach Prime. And I feel like that's why we're seeing all of this leverage towards CU. And
the other thing about it, Rachel, is to kind of enhance your point there is it's authentic.
It is.
It's not manufactured. I heard a little nugget again this morning from Joel Klatt. If you didn't hear the interview, go to denversports.com or the app. Joel was saying that in their meetings before the Nebraska game, he and Gus, when they met with Coach Prime, that he dropped a nugget. Gus had asked him about the lingering foot and leg and health issues that he's having. I mean, Rachel, he can barely stand up on the sideline for a full game. He has to sit down, right? But he still brings that energy and all that. And Gus had asked him, according to Joel, do you ever ask yourself why you, right? Like, because he was one of the most dynamic athletes of his generation and continues to be one of the more dynamic athletes of all time. He was playing professional sports twice in the same day.
Yeah.
He would go from a football game in the morning to a Yankee game at night or whatever it was. So he asked him, do you ever ask, like, why you? Because this was what made his career and now it's being taken away. And he said, if I ask why me about that, don't I have to ask why me about all the blessings that I've had in my life too? Fair. And I found that to be so profound. And Joel said it, and I believe it, because we got to experience that magnetism in person last weekend up in Boulder. It's real. It's I've been around some high profile coaches professionally, college level, whatever you name it. It's rare that you see what he's doing. And so that contributes to it. That yes, it can be considered gimmicky and it's a spectacle and all that, but it's not. It's legit. And so I think that helps draw all the world in like he has so far.
He's so authentic. And it's so rare to find that in sports nowadays. Like, people give a lot of crap to Russell Wilson because it's like, oh, like, he's not authentic at all. Like, it seems like everything he says is scripted. And while I do think some of what Russ says is scripted, I do think he's somewhat authentic. But because you can just feel that some of it's not, you're like, all right, push back. Like, I can't trust anything you say. But with Coach Prime, he walks into a room and he's like, oh, there's a lot of people here. We must be winning. It's like so relatable.
And what you do, he calls the media members out by name. It's, hey, girl, it's this, it's that. He's taking time to meet their families. I saw Romy Bean posted about that.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, with Russell Wilson, you know, we can kind of, I feel like a lot of us in the fan base and even sometimes in the media, we can roll our eyes sometimes when you ask a very like pointed question and the answer kind of comes out as like, you know, we just want to be the best men, leaders, and football players that we can be and give it 110%. And it's kind of that cliche reel that you flip through. Even though like what he's saying is true, that is what they're trying to do. It doesn't answer like the spirit of the question. Sure. You don't get that with Deion. He'll shoot you straight with it. He'll be real, and he's not afraid with the press clippings or whatever that comes with that. And I think that's really cool.
Gosh, as a Ram fan, I see the comment, Rachel, you should be thrilled that CSU is getting so much attention. I am. I'm happy.
You should be thrilled you're getting so much attention until they're losing by 40. If that's what happens.
It's going to be a tough one. Don't get me wrong. I am thrilled. Oh my goodness. I'm going to like choke up here, you guys.
Okay.
Hold on. Rachel, I'm going to give Rachel
so anyways, listen. No, and I will give Rachel credit for this as she stops herself from choking. You are a respectable alum of the other school because you have never shied away from giving CU their flowers like the rest of it and acknowledging that what Coach Prime is doing and who he is as a coach and as a person is pretty special. So you get bonus points for that, and that's why you can sign gear from the opposing fan base.
But honestly, if Coach Prime was just a real D-bag and was just rude and they were all cocky up there, I would have so much more hatred for CU. But because they're good people and we're sitting here being like, they're so authentic, it's hard. And it's hard when you're in this, like, to cover people who you know aren't necessarily good. So when you find the good ones, you're like, I just want to hold on to you a little bit, even when they're facing your school.
It's the same concept that I always feel because I grew up, you know, here in Colorado and I was raised largely a Broncos fan. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, and this is like the closest I can probably relate to you. There's like a couple examples. I love Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, me too.
I love Patrick Mahomes. I love watching him play. I think he's so amazing, dynamic. I like his personality. Yeah. I know he sounds like Kermit the Frog, and that's funny, but I do.
Wait, I've never put that together.
He sounds like Kermit the Frog. Yep, 100%. He's got this like froggy rasp in his voice.
I've never thought of that.
Like that, or like when I was at Michigan State, the head basketball coach at the time was John Beilein, and even though I hated them as a student, that whole school, all their sports teams, I really liked him as a coach. Yeah. And it was like one of those things where I just kind of kept that quiet. But it's a credit to you that you acknowledge that with everything that's going on.
Thank you. It's been a tough week for sure. Let's move on to Shedeur Sanders, though, because, again, the product on the field, that's why they're the real deal up there. And that's why they are getting some love. If you even take who their coach is or who Shedeur's dad is, they should be getting credit because what they're doing out there is pretty remarkable. Shedeur Sanders reminds me of a Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you got that vibe.
In what way?
The fact that he is able to just run around. How many guys did he just completely, like, dismiss,
it was like
essentially
3 at least
on that touchdown play when he decided to run for it? It was like the 2-point conversion. He like 4 guys missed him or something. He was just able to move around. Like, he reminds me of a Patrick Mahomes, and also like he's fun to watch.
Yes,
it's one of those things where, again, he does. But it's like with Patrick Mahomes, you just know something incredible is going to happen when you watch him, and that's how I feel about Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I think I compared him to you when we were sitting in the press box when that play happened. I feel like for CU, he's going to be like early career and even kind of current version Michael Porter Jr., where like Michael Porter Jr. throws up some shots and makes some decisions where you're like, no. And then it goes in and you're like, oh, okay.
Never mind, you're good.
No,
Thank
cool. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Like when Shedeur was running for his life on that, I was like, banging the table, like throw it away. Like, what is he doing? And then he completed it at what looked like at the time for a completion. And I was like, oh, okay.
We'll take it.
So yeah. And to your credit, like Patrick Mahomes has that like Houdini aspect to him of like when he breaks out of the pocket and starts running around. Honestly, Russell Wilson in Seattle had a lot of these similar vibes.
For sure.
when Patrick Mahomes breaks out of the pocket and it becomes just like schoolyard ball, Travis Kelce, if it's like 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000 in the pocket, and he's running around, you're like, Travis Kelce's going to score on this play.
True.
Like he's open somewhere, or Tyreek Hill even years previous. And Shedeur kind of has that too, where it's like you want him to get rid of it and be on time and accurate and just throw it. But there's a part of you in the back of your mind, because he's proven it through 2 weeks, that you're like, this could be a big play.
Yep. ESPN's Mel Kiper says he's a guaranteed high first round pick. Listen, we've seen 2 games out of him at this high level. To come out and say that is a little bit, what's the word I want to use?
Like presumptuous, or like jumping the gun.
Yeah, like it just seems a little off base.
Yeah.
Like we've seen 2 games against Nebraska's not a very good team this year. I think we can all come out and say that. TCU, I don't even need to go on that rant, because again, they lost their quarterback. They redid half of their roster too. So like, let's have this conversation once they go up against USC and Oregon and some well-known teams, maybe. And I think well-known is actually kind of disrespectful to other teams, but you get my point.
Again, very on brand for you to think about the logical, rational,
to come out and say, for him to come out and say that.
That is your left hand. Your right hand is the iron fist with which you rule your expectations and all that. So again, very on brand, but I'll say this. There are glaciers and there are avalanches.
Oh my gosh.
Glaciers move slowly and it takes a lot to change them. Avalanches, it's a snowball that turns into a landslide. The NFL is a glacier. College football is an avalanche. So yes, it's only been 2 games. It's a short sample size, and it's kind of happening right out of the gate. Things could change, but that snowball is building and building and building. And when you look at, no one is saying, including Mel Kiper, that he's going to be, right now he's supplanting Caleb Williams or even Drake May, who have been the unanimous. And right now, I would bet you a lot of people would say he's not even surpassing Michael Penix, the quarterback for Washington, who I've watched dismantle my school multiple times, and it sucks. But he's right there. That's the QB class, and he has there's the top 3, and he's put himself right there at number 4, competing with number 3. We'll see where it goes, but that's not an inaccurate assessment.
I'm just saying, for Mel to come out and say that after 2 games, like, it just seems so crazy to think about. Like, come on, like, hold on a little bit. Let's see how far this goes. Because what if he goes out there against Oregon or USC and he absolutely blows? Or what, even if it's CSU, what if it's more of a game than we're expecting? For somebody of that caliber to come out and say it so early, it just feels a little bit like you're riding the hype train.
You are, but I think that is how the mock draft process, the Heisman voting, all of that, that's kind of how it operates. It is a hype train, and you just see how long it can last.
But as a big name like Mel's name, I feel like you gotta keep your lips shut for just a smidge, and then when the perfect time comes, then you throw down the hammer with it.
Okay, I got a question for you. What's crazier?
Oh gosh.
Mel Kiper saying what he said there, that he is a high first-round draft pick, he being Shedeur Sanders this year, or that if he waits another year, he's the guaranteed number 1 overall pick right now? What's crazier? Because Mel said both of those things in the same sentence.
I think the second one, because we don't know any of the talent that's going to come out.
We do and we don't, because we know some of the names, because you can forecast that in the classes and guys that are going to leave and guys that are going to step up. Yeah. But to Mel's credit, again, this year's class right now, again, because we have sample size, looks way better than next year's class. Like Penn State's quarterback, whose name is escaping me, is like the only QB of next year's class that feels like there's like a buzz about.
But there's still a whole year for them to develop, and then
of course, and somebody will come out of nowhere.
Happen.
There will be a school with a quarterback that just goes 100%, berserk, and you're like, you didn't know who this guy was. I mean, shoot, Baker Mayfield, the year he went number 1 overall, was considered a mid-round pick. Joe Burrow, before he had the greatest college football season of all time, was not in the running.
Keep it going. You're just proving my point more and more and more.
I get it. I'm not saying you're not wrong, but I don't think Mel is off base for saying what he said right now either.
It just seems a little early on in the season. It just feels like he's drinking the Kool-Aid juice of Boulder too, and so I'm like, all right,
tastes good.
Let's just.
It tastes good.
We should find some like black Kool-Aid or something.
I'm sure if you mixed enough powders together, you could get
That's
black.
probably actually true.
Like,
Maybe that's what I'll have.
And red and
Maybe
green
I'll mix
and
black Kool-Aid for you to try and see what flavors it is.
Yeah, if I can guess which flavors are, that's actually kind of a good idea.
It's kind of disgusting
I love a good blind
at the
taste
same.
test.
Okay, so if you're Shedeur Sanders, are you saying, I'm going to stick it out for the next year, I'm going to try to be the number 1 overall pick, or are you saying, hey, I'm ready to go, let's just bullseye our way to the NFL?
I'm going to wait, and I'll tell you why. Because, again, in this year's draft class, you're dealing with Caleb Williams and Drake May, who for more than a year now have ridden the cycle as guy number 1 and guy number 2. And Shedeur Sanders, with the way that he's playing, statistically, he's better than those two right now in a lot of categories. So you could say, if I'm Shedeur Sanders, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to keep dominating. We're going to keep rolling, and I'm going to beat one of those guys. And that's cool, right? You can do that. But you run the risk, especially because Michael Penix, again, is still in the mix there. You run the risk of, hey, I got to face 3 other guys that have more cred than I do going into the season because they've been starters for their team.
Yeah.
If you don't beat Caleb Williams and Drake May right now, who are the number 1 and number 2, who are presumably going to go in the top 5, if not the top 10, depending on, what teams need quarterbacks and who trades up and who what, you run the risk of sliding. And let's say a team has just been enamored with Michael Penix and he goes through. So now you're the 4th quarterback taken. Even if 4 quarterbacks go in the first round, you're looking at sliding back into that 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, team trades up into the 2nd round kind of thing. And that can be dangerous because you have way less control or concept about where you're going to go.
Yeah.
If you wait until next year and you bet on yourself and it pays off and you're the number 1 overall pick, you have much more of an idea of where you're going to go, and he can continue to stack and prepare himself under his father for 1 more year.
So from just the personal side for Shedeur, I'm like, Shedeur, stay in college as long as you possibly can, because right now you are the king of campus. Enjoy it for everything you can milk it for, because this is an experience unlike any other, because Boulder has been literally thirsting for this. They're like, please give us something to talk about. So for that personal level, I'm like, stick around, enjoy the next 2 years and have fun with it, because the NFL is a totally different thing. But also, this is really weird, and I've always been this. I'm like, if you're not going to be the number 1 pick, I would want to go middle of the pack somewhere, because you may be able to fight your way to being the starting quarterback compared to being thrown into a really bad team and then you get all of the backlash of it, right? Because everyone wants you to be the saving grace. And then you also don't want to go at the very end because you don't want to come in and have to back up Jalen Hurts or whatever, who's going to be the quarterback for the next 5 years.
Sure. If you were to break the draft class up into like 3 sections, right? You got like top 10, the middle 10, or 11, and the back 10 or 11, right? Everyone presents its own struggles. So you're going to go in that top 10, you're going to go early, and you're going to get paid. Yep. But you're Bryce Young, you're CJ Stroud.
You better perform.
You're getting thrown to the wolves for a team that is, for the most part, garbage at the level of competition.
100%.
You go in the middle. Yeah, you're not going to go to one of the worst teams in the NFL, but they're probably not a playoff team. No. They're like right on that like purgatory thing where the Broncos
if you're good enough, you can maybe take over the spot depending on who the quarterback is,
right. You're going to have to fight through like a Kirk Cousins or a, whatever and do that. And that's difficult, but it's also very nebulous because when you're drafted in the first round, the expectation is that you're the future.
True.
But if you're in that middle range, they've probably got a quarterback, veteran or otherwise, that they're confident in still because he probably hasn't been around for that long. And so that's a weird nebulous situation that you can get lost in the gray. If you go in the back third, you're going to a good team.
Then you may not see anything.
They've got an established starter. And you run the risk of being like an Aaron Rodgers who sat behind Brett Favre for several years. Jordan Love who sat behind Aaron Rodgers. Or all these quarterbacks that sat behind Tom Brady. And all these things. And it's like you may miss your window to really make your shot and you become an afterthought because after a few years, it's like this guy hasn't made the field in that long. And
then there's more hype on other players.
And you basically ruin your rookie window or you run the risk of it.
True.
So every zone has challenges. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
I know. It's fun. I'm excited for Saturday night, even for my Rammies. I'm still excited for them to get the spotlight. Tell me, international players coming to the NFL, do they get a spotlight or is it like, hey, you didn't grow up here. I'm sorry to say everyone loves who Drake May is, but you're going to run it because the NFL is now they're going to expand the practice squad for all 32 teams and they have to have at least one international player on the practice squad.
I like it because
I hate it.
Okay, well, why?
I hate it because, listen, this is my whole problem with the MLS. Is the MLS over in Europe, or excuse me, the MLS here in the United States will never compete with what it is over in Europe because it is the best of the best over there.
The best athletes in other countries play soccer primarily.
Yes, exactly. So the MLS will never be able to compete unless a Messi comes, and then it doesn't even matter. The entire league goes to crap because it's all about Messi.
How insane is it that like late 30s Messi is like the best player in MLS, and he's like on the aging side of his own league in the world on the world stage.
It's not even close. And so I hate the idea of like, we're going to try and have teams in London. I'm sorry. The National Football League is here in America. And I know people are going to like me saying that. I don't want a team in London. Why do we want to have teams travel out there? Are you just going to you're going to open up an NFL League Europe? But why? Because then you have too many things. You have too many things forming. The NFL is so important right now because it is the best of the best athletes playing the game of football.
Sure.
And not American football, not European football.
Yes.
I hate it so much.
Listen, that's fair.
I hate it.
I'll take the opposite approach because, and I'll leave the disclaimer here. I am pro billionaire. I am pro dynasty.
Are you pro having football 7 days a week?
Hell yeah.
Because it's going to be too much.
We almost had that during the COVID year, by the way.
Yeah, but it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much, and people are going to start to lose interest. It's too much.
The NFL up to this point has proven up to this point that there isn't a saturation point. People will take their product wherever. So you're going to have to keep pushing that line. And
that's
just
bullcrap.
Okay. With the NFL to me, it reminds me of like playing do you ever play the board game Risk?
Probably at some point in my life.
Board game.
I was a Monopoly girl.
It's a board game basically built around world domination. You have a color and countries and you try to take over the world. And that's what the NFL is doing. And they're the only sports league in America that can do that. Yeah. So I actually think it's a good concept from a business perspective to open this up to the international players because you're acknowledging that while the majority of the best athletes at your particular sport are in the United States, there are great athletes around the world. And this is a foothold for them to do the thing you're going to hate, which is 10, 20 years from now, we've got like 8 international teams. And the NFL is a global game. And we have like a hemisphere of divisions.
How did the global game work when they brought the MLS to the United States?
But
it's terrible.
The difference is we're on the low end of the totem pole when it comes to soccer. So comparing
Europe's not going to be on the low end when it comes to football because soccer is the bigger thing over there.
They will be.
So then the product's not as good.
The likelihood because we'll be the ones cherry picking the best talent. The likelihood that we can get the international talent to rise closer to our level of play in American football is so much more likely than our level of soccer players rising to the level of the international.
Okay, let me ask you this. After Monday night's game, were you like, I'm so ready for Thursday night?
Well, Thursday night football traditionally kind of sucks. So yes and no. I'm happy.
So you think Tuesday night and Wednesday night football is going to be better?
It depends on how you structure it. You're going to add multiple. The season's going to be longer. You're going to add multiple bye weeks. I'm just saying, there was a week during COVID because of all the cancellations where we had Sunday football.
But it was 1 year.
Sunday football, Monday night football. We had a Tuesday night game and a Wednesday night game and a Thursday night game. And then we didn't have it on Friday.
It's going to be too much and people are going to lose interest. It's right now it is perfect because they want to grab for it. It's like, I cannot wait for Thursday to get here. And then you've got college ball on Saturday that people are like, yes, college. Then you got all day Sunday and you're like, all right, well, I'm not done.
Would swallow college football in a second. If you took college football off of Saturdays and put the NFL there,
in the South.
Viewership would go through the
in the South.
The NFL is unstoppable.
No, because
Rachel.
the Falcons mean nothing down there in Georgia. Huh? The Falcons mean nothing down there in Georgia. It's Georgia football,
I'm not saying college football fans wouldn't watch, but the NFL would get college football numbers or better on Saturdays. They would. They are
depending on the team.
To do what you're saying,
stagnates. Okay. We're talking about different things. I see what you're saying. Yes, I'm sure Well, I don't know.
You can't stop the NFL. They're Thanos. They're invincible.
I don't know. It's interesting. I want to know your guys' opinion.
It took a long time.
There's no such thing as too much football.
I agree.
But someone else just said get rid of Thursday night football for good. I'm curious. Let me know your opinion in the comments.
Don't get rid of it. Change up the matchups. And I don't like the Amazon broadcast. I'll just be honest.
It looks like Fortnite. Like the graphics and everything look like Fortnite. Yeah, what could I say? Also, real quick, I just saw that KJ Hamler is working out for the Colts.
Wow. Okay, so he's ready to play. That was quicker than I thought. I kind of thought we were going to deal with this for a while.
Yeah, and obviously Sean Payton had come out and was like, "Yep, we're hoping to re-sign him," but clearly that must not be the case.
Or it's the case, but he's exercising his option to work out for a couple of the teams. He's in a position where he has to generate demand for himself. The season's rolling now. The trains for all these teams have left the station.
Yeah, but if you
got to grab on now.
But if you were confident enough in your conversation with the Broncos, then you would just be preparing to work out with the Broncos.
You don't think the Broncos, with their current wide receiver position and Greg Dulcich going down, wouldn't be interested in trying to bring KJ back from a bodies with a pulse standpoint?
Another injury-prone player joining the roster.
I agree.
Another injury-prone player joining the roster. I don't think is what the Denver Broncos need.
I don't think it's what they need, but I think they would owe the conversation. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know that I would make the move either, but at some point, is KJ Hamler better than Julio Jones? Is he better than Jarvis Landry?
Is
wow, he? The fact that you had to do
Julio, I 100% agree with. Jarvis, it can be like a coin flip, okay?
Okay.
I do think, though, that I don't think we're going to see him in a Broncos uniform again.
I don't think so. I think the second he left, that was it.
Yep. Which is kind of heartbreaking. Like
he's such a good dude.
Such a good dude. He obviously has been super open about his mental health struggles, his just like health struggles in general. So it's kind of a bummer, but I hope he does land with a team somewhere because I think his potential is still pretty high.
I did too. Me personally, and kind of ourselves as a station, we developed a pretty cool, unique relationship with KJ and his mom, who's a wonderful person.
Yes.
And I remember I reached out to her when all of that went down, when that announcement went down with KJ, and she was, to let her know we were thinking about her and all that. And I'm glad to hear that he's working out with another team. If he never ends up wearing orange and blue again, it was cool for the time that we had him, but he's somebody that you want to succeed.
No, for sure. Have you heard all this onside kick stuff that's going on where if you catch a team by surprise, the percentage of like what it could be for a success rate?
No, tell me about it.
Okay. So essentially, obviously in certain situations, teams know that you're kicking an onside kick. You have a limited success rate.
Analytics.
And it's 2%. So if a team knows you're going to do it, you have a 2% success rate. But if you don't, it's a 45% success rate. So with Sean Payton obviously starting off the season with an onside kick, he thought there was a 45% success rate, and he said, let's go for it. You're shaking your head like, absolutely, I love the idea, Sean Payton. I'm over here like, that's not even like...
That's a coin flip.
No, it's not. 50% is a coin flip.
Okay, it's close.
No, I don't think it was a smart move. I don't think... Man, he must have really had faith in his defense.
Yeah.
But really?
Why? But again,
really?
We can say what we want and our personal thoughts about it. But
it's not even 50%.
You're the head coach of your team. You're not going to have faith in them in the first game on the first play? If
it was 55%, I'd be like, okay, that is more successful than not. Geez. 45% is not.
What if it was 50-50?
Well, then sure. But 45% is not.
The 5% is hanging you up.
You have a new kicker who is new to the altitude of kicking here, and you're playing on wet grass, essentially?
He kicked it great. He kicked it in the perfect position. We just touched it too early. We recovered it.
I don't know about that.
You're right. It's hard to kick an onside kick. He did it really good.
I mean, he did it okay.
No way. He did it really good. We just touched it too early. That's on the return team. I
don't know. Because what? He got it on the 8? Like,
yeah, he touched it a couple yards. Yeah. To have that 10-yard buffer or whatever.
I don't know.
Rachel, put your chips on the table, baby. That's what the season's about.
I just don't like it. I play it safe. You don't know what you have, essentially.
How can you win 9 or 10 games and be the
I'm sorry. They're 0-1 now. So,
how can you win 9 or 10 games that you need them to be, or we blow up the facility without having that kind of confidence and playing that way?
So why didn't the Chiefs do it?
Did the Chiefs win?
No, okay, why didn't the Eagles do it? Why didn't the 49ers do it?
I don't know.
Because it's not a smart play statistically.
Now that you say that, if Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs opened up Thursday Night Football with an onside kick, even if they didn't get it, we'd be like, Andy Reid is such a genius.
Actually, you know what?
Look how cool that was.
I'll never forget. Do you remember their little spinning play?
Yeah, that they just made
up. It was incredible. The players made it up. Actually, though, this goes back to this point of like, you know why they didn't do it? Because they believe that their offense can go out there and score enough points it takes to win the game.
Sure.
Sean Payton clearly did not believe that his offense, he had to find some way to give them a little extra advantage.
I don't think that's what
Otherwise, why would you? Why wouldn't you save it then for more later on in the season?
On 70% of his possessions. Why? He didn't, because he scored on 50% because they missed a field goal.
Why wouldn't you save it then for later on in the season? When you want teams to be like, now everybody's going to be like, well, will they?
Use it later on in the season. Just because he's used it once doesn't mean that's it.
That's not true. Only one bullet because they're always going to assume something like that could happen.
That's powerful. You are now forcing the defense to account for something that you may not even intend to ever use again. You're making them play your game. That's a good thing.
I don't think so.
Why? Why not?
I just don't. I think you have to save it. You have to catch people off guard. If they did
catch them off guard
in the first game of the year. This isn't the playoffs or the wild card.
He could pull this out again in the wild card if they make it.
No, because I guarantee they will. Oh yeah, I don't think they're going to. They will always. Oh, you have me so fired up on this right now. But it's just like you could use that like every single time when they game plan. They're going to be like, "Oh, remember Sean Payton started off the game with an onside kick. Like, be ready."
Maybe they adjust their. Maybe they have to adjust their
instead of just being like they've always kicked it. So like, why?
Maybe they have to adjust their alignment because they're worried he's going to do it, and that creates a lane for the for the return team that wouldn't be there, and then you can get him later. It's smart. I think it's smart. It didn't work. I'm not all up in arms about it. If it had worked, we would have been like Sean Payton's a genius, just like if the Chiefs did it and it worked.
I liked it trying to spark a team that has been in the dump for 6 years.
Hell yes.
Good point, Rachel. Thank you. It was a horrible call and lost us the game. I don't know if
it did not lose us the game.
Richie chilled. The onside kick was stupid.
It's
50-50 here in the comments. So.
If it's only stupid because it didn't work, is it really that stupid? Or was it a good idea that just didn't work? Or a clever idea that just didn't work? You're not going to you missed 100% of the shots you don't take.
I'm dying at the comments. You guys, we love reading your comments. It always makes my day. The onside kick was stupid. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. Richie may not.
Agree to disagree.
Let us know in the comments some more, you guys. But otherwise, we'll be back 10:30 tomorrow morning for another episode of Coffee Break. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Get back to work. We'll see you tomorrow.